Welcome to Hearts and Stripes, your one-stop shop for all things military marriage. I hope our discussions and interviews equip you with the tools to start or grow a beautiful marriage as we address the benefits and challenges of marriage. I believe life's most precious moments are worth celebrating, so I'll help you design your marriage blueprint in alignment with your core values. Thank you for joining us, and remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Let's do this. Hello, and welcome to Hearts and Stripes podcast. I am your host, Bree Carroll, and I am so excited that you are joining us for a heart-to-heart. And guess what? This is the very first heart-to-heart in 2021. We made it, y'all. Happy New Year. I hope that you guys have just done all of the things of celebrating this new year, of preparing yourself. And maybe if you came into this year unprepared, that's okay. I got y'all covered for this episode, so no worries. But I hope you are coming into 2021 with hope, with some encouragement, looking forward to what this year will hold, and kind of shaking off some of that old residue of 2020. I know it was a crazy year. A lot of things were very unpredictable and things that we just did not see coming. So for 2021, I know people are kind of going into it a little differently, but I can just say I am excited, and I want my couples out there to get excited about 2021. It's another year that we are blessed and able to see, and we are going to make it a great one. So I talked about if you didn't feel prepared maybe for 2021, this is an episode I absolutely want you to lean into. And it is a concept that I really got from just my work as a supervisor. I'm sure you guys have heard of this. EPRs, OPRs is where you get your feedback. That's where you get all those bullets to say what you did, how well you are doing, where you rank, if you will. If you are somebody's number one, number two, any of those type of things, you get strated. That's what they're called. And the reason why I was thinking of this is because I was like, we need to do an MPR, like for marriage. MPR, not an EPR, not an OPR, but an MPR. But really, what this will kind of look like, and I'll break it down for you. It is just a marriage year in review. So I love how in the armed forces, we do that when it comes to getting feedback on how we're doing our jobs, but also in businesses. Business do this as well. And they just are analyzing how well the business did and the health of the marriage from the previous year. So now I'm going to break down kind of what our marriage year in review is. And to go along with this episode, I have a free download just for you so that you can walk through with your spouse and do a year in review. So I just want to say before we hop into this MPR, that there are some things that you have to recognize prior to doing this. You do need to give some grace with just 2020 and how things have kind of been rough. I think one of the things that I've said about 2020 was it was the year that kind of amplified some things. So if your marriage was doing really good and in a good spot, it maybe gave you more opportunities to amplify those good things. Like you maybe had more time together and you really enjoyed that and maximized on that time together and were able to have those conversations and just share that intimate time because we were quarantined. But also 2020 was an amplifier for those couples that maybe weren't in as good of a spot. It gave opportunity for more stress, kind of being like in a pressure cooker. You maybe argued a little more. And I think this year in review, I just wanted to open up and kind of break down how you should approach it. Approach it with grace. Approach it from a perspective of we're going to do the year in review so that we can make it better. If your year wasn't so good, this year in review's purpose is to set you up so that 2021 can be better. If you had a great 2020 in your marriage, guess what? There is still more. There is still better. There are still opportunities for you to grow and continue to strengthen your marriage to go to the next level. So there is always opportunity here. And I hope you approach this marriage year in review from the perspective of grace and wanting to see improvement. This is not the time for you to just go in on your spouse and be like, "Ooh, you was just horrible, horrible, horrible." Maybe you do need to have those conversations about areas to work on, but it is not to be taken as a weapon. Let me say that again. The year in review is not a weapon to use against your spouse. It is supposed to be a tool to aid you in improving your marriage. Boom. Now that I've got that out the way, let me also add on to that something that I'd love for you to do after you do your year in review. And that is called, or I guess I should say after and during, and it is called active listening. So, active listening. So, what that means is you are listening not so that you can respond, debate, or come back with something witty after your spouse has spoken, but you are truly present and engaged actively in what your spouse is saying. And you are going to show them and tell them that you are listening to them by, in some ways, repeating back what you received from what they said. So, what that may look like is if your spouse is saying maybe one of the items that we'll go through has to do with communication, and your spouse is just like, "Hun, I don't feel like you communicated very well with me. You want me to read your mind all the time, and that's not a form of communication because you never just tell me." As opposed to you coming back and saying something like I would say, which would be like, "Well, I shouldn't have to tell you." No, that's not active listening. Active listening would be your response of saying, "Wow, honey, I heard you. What I believe you were saying is that you don't feel like I am a great communicator because I assume that you should know things and I'm not really talking to you. I'm not really sharing with you, and I could work on that to better communicate." Is that right? Is that kind of what you were saying? That is sharing back with that person what you received from what they were saying, as opposed to just giving a rebuttal. So that'll be very helpful as you go through the marriage year in review, but also after, because I do believe that this is going to spark some good conversation between the two of you. So let us jump into our MPR, or better known as our marriage year in review. So these are going to be 21 questions because I mean, we are in 2021, so why not? 21 questions that just kind of walks you through different areas of your relationship so that you can evaluate how your spouse has done things. And I'm going to read them out for you so that you get an idea of what you'll be doing. But remember, you have this free download and you can dive in and do all the things with your spouse. Now, let me just say, you need to complete it, which is an evaluation for your spouse, and your spouse needs to complete it, which will be an evaluation for you. So each of you has a role in this. You both need to take part and do the scoring. And basically, it is just saying, in the past year, how have I performed on the following behaviors? Okay. So we're rating on these behaviors, and it's just a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being you strongly disagree that regarding this behavior, and 5 being you strongly agree with this behavior. So I'll go through the first couple so you get a good idea. I have been a good listener. You will either say something of 1, I strongly disagree, or you may say something closer to a 5, I strongly agree. Okay, you kind of get it. I was respectful when we had a disagreement. I provided comfort when discussing hard issues. Now, this one is in there because 2020, we have discussed a lot of hard issues, right? We had a whole election. We talked about a pandemic. You may be deciding for yourselves if taking this vaccination is good or not for you. We talked about social injustice and racism or being anti-racist. So there were a lot of hard issues that came up outside of your home in 2020. And then let's also take into account those hard conversations that happen inside your home. Maybe it had to do with finances. Maybe it had to be with some of the topics that you'll cover throughout the year in this end of year review as it relates to intimacy, right? So the statement is, I've provided comfort when discussing hard issues. Do you strongly disagree? Do you disagree? Are you neutral on this? Do you agree or do you strongly agree? So those are kind of your options as you walk through this. And I think the key areas here to just foot stomp that are covered in this marriage year in review are happen to be communication, affection, money, and teamwork. So I'll say that again, it's communication, affection, money, and teamwork. Those are the four areas that we're touching on in this marriage year in review. And there are 21 questions. You can dive in, get your scores together. I will say the higher the score, the better, right? Because you do want, we hope that you strongly agree with some of these statements, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you get a perfect score on this, right, or you get a high score. It's about the dialogue that you have with your spouse regarding each issue, right? It's about each statement breaking down areas to improve upon and really just finding out where you are. And the reason why I say this, not just don't just shoot for that high score, because that high score may just mean that you have nothing to work on. And that's not the case, right? That's not the case for you. That's not the case for me. That's not the case for any relationship, any marriage. But what I do want to say is that you don't want to ignore the things that you could work on, right? You don't want to just give that perfect five every time when you know that there were areas to work on. I know when we did this, I put fours in areas that I still felt like we did really good, but it was worth having the conversation about. It was worth diving in a little deeper, practicing that active listening so that we can improve on different areas within our marriage. And the reason why this is important is because what we don't focus on, we will never improve on. What we don't focus on, we will never improve on. And an example of that is just like any habit that you have. Like right now, the habit that my daughter has is sucking her thumb. If we as parents never focus on the fact that she is sucking her thumb and it's something that we maybe want to break her out of, we just kind of like, oh, we'll just let her do her thing. If we never do anything to encourage her to stop sucking her thumb, she will continue to suck her thumb. She will probably need braces later in life. She may suck her thumb all her life. I don't know. I'm just saying it is an example of if you don't focus on something, it'll just continue to happen. And honestly, I can say that in the example about my daughter because she used to only suck her thumb to like self-soothe to just put herself to sleep, but she wouldn't suck it throughout the day. Well, now she's doing it more frequently. And that is also a concern for me, especially because there's a whole pandemic going on and we are told not to touch our eyes, nose, and mouth. And here you are sucking your thumb. So I'm just like sanitizing everything. So I say that to say focusing on something will help us to correct or to improve it. But if we gloss over it, if we're just like, everything is fine, it's a five, we don't even have to discuss it. No, even those areas that you do feel like are fives, you should still discuss. You should still practice that active listening. You should still go into the conversation with grace regarding the past year. But I think it's really important to do this year in review of your marriage to kind of let each other know the reality of where your marriage is. It can be a great reality, regardless if you think it's not good or bad. Knowing is half the battle. Okay. Knowing is half the battle. So please, please, please take advantage of this download. Do the evaluation, get that MPR done. And one of the best part about an NPR is really the feedback. The feedback session is where all the juice is. That's where the sauce is. That's where you get down to those things to really improve your relationship. So ensure that each of you is completing the form, writing out how you would score your spouse on these topics, and then get together and discuss them. And don't be afraid to talk about and be honest in this conversation, right? Honesty is going to be key in you, one, identifying and focusing on some areas of improvement, because that's the goal. The goal is for your marriage to thrive. The goal here at Hearts and Stripes podcast is to build stronger military marriages. So please utilize this as a tool. And I hope that this helps you get ready for 2021 and have a successful marriage. Okay, so I am super excited about the marriage year end review, but I'm also excited for some other things going on in 2021, right? So I can just share here on this episode, it's just us talking. It's just our little heart to heart. So I can share some of the exciting things going on for 2021. And one of them happens to be a part of my personal passion, if you will, which is fashion. I really love fashion as an art form, as a way of expressing yourself. And you guys can say, you've heard it first here, but I am in the process of producing a virtual fashion show, GY6. I am so excited. That will be streaming live on February the 14th. We have 5 amazing brands, all veteran and military spouse owned designers and brands who are coming together for a fashion experience like none other. And I am so excited that I was able to collaborate with military influencers in the space to put on this virtual fashion show. More information will be coming your way. But if you want a sneak peek so that you know where you can secure your ticket and get all the goodness that will be rolling out, you can simply head over to gy6show.com. You can also connect with what is going on. You can see the team and the designers and all the goodness on Instagram at gy6show as well. So that's just one big thing rolling out in 2021. Another one that I will share, and then I gotta zip it up. I can't tell y'all all the things. Y'all gotta stay tuned. But one more thing that I will share with you, which was something that was a huge blessing and honor that came out of 2020, was being named the Armed Forces Insurance 2020-2021 Air Force Spouse of the Year. And what I have done, I've collaborated with the ladies who made up the top three. So that's AJ and I. Amber will be joining. We will also have Christy Reed, who is representing our guard spouses. We are all going on an Air Force tour. It is a virtual tour, but you know what? If the world opens up, we may be able to see some of y'all in person. And the goal is to hit every base, talk to spouses at every Air Force installation, hear your heart, things that are concerning you, things that bring you joy that you absolutely love, and share a little bit more about this platform, about strengthening military marriages, and some awesome resources that you guys should absolutely take advantage of. The tour starts in January and will roll all the way through December, all year long. 2021, the Air Force tour. I'm excited to have my Air Force top three, and also our overall winner, Christy Reed, representing for guard spouses joining that tour. So that is just another exciting thing going on for 2021. So I think that's all the announcements that I'm allowed to share. There's more, but for now, we busting out the gate in 2021. I can't share all the things. I can't tell you all the good stuff, but I will definitely keep you posted on the GY6 virtual fashion show, and look out for those dates for if you were at an Air Force installation to chat with me virtually and connect for the Air Force tour as the 2020-2021 Armed Forces Insurance Air Force Spouse of the Year. Boom. Drops mic. No, not really. But we're going to wrap up this episode talking all about the marriage year in review with our heart track. Shout out to the heart tracks. I don't know about you, but you have to head over to Spotify. Heart Tracks 2. You can find all of the playlists, songs from this season. Heart Tracks 2. And I thought of this particular heart track because I was trying to tie in this year in review. And I will tell you, affection was the part of the year in review that I was maybe the most excited about. Maybe just because I'm always excited for opportunities to talk to my spouse about just love, affection, getting together. So for this heart track, I have chosen Fifth Harmony, Work from Home. Yes, the irony is there because that is exactly what we did in 2020. We was working from home, but I like the lyrics in the song that just says like we can work from home. You might have had to put in a little extra work at home during 2020 to have your marriage strong and sustained. And I think I was just jamming to it. I was just like, work from home. That's what we doing for this heart track. So I hope that you enjoy today's heart track. It's Fifth Harmony, Work from Home. You ain't even gotta work. I hope y'all enjoy it. Listen to Heart Tracks 2 on Spotify. And that is it. I can't wait for you to join us for more episodes of Hearts and Stripes podcast. I'm super excited about this season. We have some amazing couples who will be talking to you and sharing their marriage story. We already heard from greats like Patrice Washington, Lakeisha Cole, and heard from fellow soys like Juvalin Garcia. It is only going to get better from here. 2021 is going to be an amazing year for you. It's going to be an amazing year for your marriage. And I hope that you continue to connect with us here at Hearts and Stripes podcast to get the support and the things that you need to continue to thrive in your life and in your marriage. So that's it, y'all. I can't wait for you to join us for another Heart to Heart. Have a great week. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. This is Hearts and Stripes. We are the few, the proud, that aim high and are forged by love. Always ready, always there. We are Mill Marriage Strong.